At this point, there are so many Final Fantasy games. There are 16 just in the main line, and then at least another 26 spin-off titles according to a rudimentary Google AI search. So I can authoritatively surmise that nobody in the entire world has ever played every single Final Fantasy game, and that is an undeniable fact, but I have just played Final Fantasy VI, the Pixel Remaster Edition, so I can at least right here, right now, tell you what happened in that game. So what's going on in Final Fantasy VI? Final Fantasy VI follows in the traditions of the old school Final Fantasy games for the Super Nintendo. It is a turn-based Japanese role-playing game. The game utilizes the Active Time Battle System, ATB, introduced in Final Fantasy IV, which adds an element of real-time battles by giving each character a timer until they can use their next move, adding some urgency to each encounter. Many of the game's mechanics carry forward from the previous titles, however the game innovates by giving each playable character a unique moveset and unique way to play them. The game is also the first in the series to feature mechs prominently, bringing the Final Fantasy world into a more sci-fi themed fantasy, a significant departure from the previous 5, which were all more or less inspired by classical fantasy. The game also features a wider variety of levels from previous titles with atypical game mechanics such as the river raft sequence where the player navigates a winding river, an opera singing scene where the player must recall song lyrics, a phantom train ushering the dead to the underworld, an auction house, a coliseum, and a magic tower where the player can only use magic. Some levels have the characters driving mechs and then using the mechs in battles. There are some levels which require the player to split the group up into multiple parties and use all parties simultaneously to navigate the level. The final battle is also an atypical battle for the Final Fantasy series. The game features 14 different playable characters, so we'll get into each of them, but first, the plot of Final Fantasy VI follows a fairly straightforward path. The game follows a group of rebels fighting to free their land from Emperor Gestal and his clown-like first-in-command Kefka. The game begins with a group of Imperial soldiers piloting mechs, bringing Terra to a mountain town called Narsh, where there is an Esper encased in ice. In this version of Final Fantasy, Espers are spirits who inhabit another plane of reality, who occasionally come over to the one side inhabited by the characters. The Espers are powerful spirits and are the same as the summons from previous games. Upon meeting the Esper, there is a magical reaction between Terra and the Esper. The other soldiers are killed and Terra loses her memory. It turns out the soldiers were using a device to control Terra's actions. Terra joins the rebel returners, and then after repelling another Imperial attack on Narsh, Terra becomes an Esper. The party learns that Terra can recruit Espers to their cause, and the first part of the game is spent collecting comrades, collecting Espers, and fighting Kefka and Imperial troops. It turns out Terra is half Esper, and comes from the Esper world. Terra travels to the Esper world and meets her dad, but is followed by the Empire who steal the godly statues of the Warring Triads from the Esper world. The statues of the Warring Triads are the remains of the gods who created the world. With the power of the statues, the Emperor and Kefka create a floating continent in the sky. The party get a flying ship from a friend Setzer, a mysterious figure known as the Gambler, and they fly to the continent. Kefka goes mad and kills the Emperor and disturbs the balance of the statues, bringing ruin to the entire world. The entire party crashes into the earth, their fates unknown. Part 2 begins with the soldier Celeste inhabiting a remote island in the world of ruin with Cid, the lead scientist of the Imperial soldiers. Cid has fallen ill and dies, leaving Celeste alone on the island. Celeste, having lost hope that anyone is still alive on the planet, attempts to kill herself by throwing herself off a cliff. Celeste survives the fall and washes up on shore, and then finds a spark of hope when a bird lands near her wearing Locke's bandana. She returns to Cid's dead body and finds a letter revealing a secret basement in the house with a raft, which Celeste uses to leave the island. On the mainland, she learns that everyone is alive, though the world is in ruins. Part 2 is spent finding all the old comrades, and a few new ones, fighting dragons and the other monsters harassing the lands, the Death Gaze and the Humbaba, and eventually the party proceeds to Kefka's tower to challenge Kefka, now a god, once and for all. As I said, there are 14 playable characters, each with unique playstyles. So here we go. Terra is the first playable character. She can use magic before acquiring Espers, as she is half Esper herself. The Gestalian Empire raided the Esper world when Terra was a baby, forcing Terra and her parents out of the Esper world, after which Terra was enslaved by the Empire. In combat, Terra can become an Esper, giving her considerably stronger magic and attacks. Locke is a thief who joins with Terra early on in the game. Locke's backstory involves his ex-girlfriend Rachel, who falls into a canyon and loses her memory. Rachel's family did not want Locke to interact with Rachel after losing her memory. Eventually, Rachel did regain her memory, but died shortly after in a Gestalian attack. An eccentric old man preserved her body for Locke, who noted she still loved him, and spends the rest of his life searching for a way to revive Rachel. In the world of Ruin, Locke uses the Esper Phoenix to briefly revive Rachel, who dies anyway but tells Locke he can move on. Aside from Rachel, Locke also shows romantic interest in Terra and Celeste, and eventually gets with Celeste after everything with Rachel. Locke has the ability to steal items from enemies in battles. In my experience, Locke was one of the weaker characters to play with in the game. Edgar joins with Terra and Locke early in the game. Edgar is the king of Figaro and a machinist, and is known for his predilection for hitting on every woman. Edgar uses unique tools in battle which can be bought or found and give Edgar unique combat moves. Edgar is one of the stronger characters with a good balance for physical and magical strength. Sabin is Edgar's long-lost twin brother. Sabin left Figaro seeking freedom from politics after his father was poisoned by the Gestalian Empire. Sabin is a martial artist and utilizes unique blitzes during battle which require the player to input a specific set of commands to pull off successfully. Sabin's abilities are on par with Edgar's, with the caveat that if the player enters the blitz commands incorrectly, Sabin will lose his move and his turn. Cyan joins with Sabin after the party is split up after the first encounter with Ultros on the raft. Cyan is a samurai from the kingdom of Doma, before everyone in Doma and his wife and child are all poisoned by the Imperials. Cyan talks like an old-timey knight of yore and seeks revenge for his wife and kid. Cyan uses unique Bushido attacks in battle and is also one of the more balanced characters akin with Edgar and Sabin. Shadow first joins the party during Sabin's subplot as well, but is only a situational ally for most of the game, not truly joining the group until the world of Ruin. Shadow is a ninja and a lone wolf. He has a dog who can help him in battle. Shadow is one of the more temperamental characters as the player has limited ability to level him during most of the game. His ability, Throw, allows him to throw special scrolls as well as regular items. I didn't use this ability at all until the end when I knew I didn't need the items though. Celeste first joins the party during Locke's subplot. She is introduced as a former general of the Imperials who was imprisoned for questioning their authority, and Locke aids her escape. Later, Celeste betrays the group by leading Kefka's troops to the Magitech Reserve facility, when the party is infiltrating, and then aids Kefka's escape. However, Celeste is truly torn between the factions and rejoins the party later for good. Celeste is a runic knight. Her runic ability allows her to absorb magic. She is also another well-rounded character. Gao joins the players in Act 1. Gao is acquired on the Veldt, a savanna-like expanse. Gao is a wild barbarian. During the World of Ruin, Gao has the opportunity to meet his father, who does not recognize him. Gao's ability allows him to copy the moves of monsters the party meets, with the caveat that they must go to the Veldt to acquire those abilities. The Veldt has a chance to spawn any enemy met during the game. Gao is strong, but is also annoying to use because you cannot look at the monster's abilities when you select them on Gao's subscreen, so you just have to kind of know what they do. When Gao enters, he also will stay enraged the entire combat, meaning he can't use items or spells and the player has no control over him at all. Setzer is an outlaw known as the Gambler. The party lures Setzer by having Celeste sing in the opera house, knowing that Setzer would kidnap the singer. When Setzer joins the party gains access to the flying airship. Setzer's ability is Slot, which does something at random. He also gains the ability to throw money at enemies, which is slightly better in the late game. Realm and Strago are father and daughter and both powerful spellcasters. They can join the party late in the World of Balance. Realm's ability is similar to Gao's. Sketch allows her to sketch an enemy and imitate their move. Strago's ability, Lore, is the blue mage ability from previous games. He can learn abilities from enemies and use them as spells. Mog can be recruited in Narsh late in the World of Balance. Mog is a Moogle and has the ability to dance. Mog acquires the dance ability by fighting in different terrains, and they have varying effects. Mog is actually a reasonably good character for the party. In the World of Ruin, if the player returns to Narsh Mines with Mog, the player can recruit a Yeti called Umaru. Umaru has unique equipment and can only do physical attacks. The player does not control Umaru during combat, who functions like Gao in a rage. Umaru's usefulness depends on the situation but is very good in the Zealot's Tower, as Umaru is the only character who will be able to use physical attacks. If the party allows themselves to be engulfed by a giant worm called the Zone Eater, they can recruit the character Go-Go. Go-Go is a mime who mostly does not talk and can only use the Mimic ability or items. So no spells or espers. However, Go-Go's Mimic ability will mimic whatever ability is used by the character before, so Go-Go can copy very powerful attacks including espers. The final level, Kefka's Tower, requires the party to split into 3 groups of 4, so if the player gets all the characters, there will only be 2 left unused. A lot of the characters are annoying to use, but it's up to the player how to form the 3 groups, as all of them will have to be able to fight effectively in the final area. I had a lot of fun going back and playing Final Fantasy VI, the last Final Fantasy game before the switch to 3D. It's not a perfect game by any means. To be honest, I got lost several times and was unable to proceed without looking up what to do. The game gives minimal direction, and there are a lot of really obscure secrets. However, the game also offers some of the most unique levels among the 2D Final Fantasy games, and despite the wacky writing, it also offers a surprisingly cinematic story, complete with a closing credit sequence crediting the characters in what I suppose is the movie of their lives, starring themselves.